Hi guys, it's Carissa. I'm finally able to talk about this without sobbing, and I just figured I would make a video today about some of the things that made me think that I wasn't pregnant, and then maybe some of the things that should have tipped me off. I was convinced. I was completely convinced. I had taken my medication instructions off the fridge. I flat out told Mike and his mother it didn't work. I was convinced. And that was not just because of my test. I felt that way starting on Saturday night, maybe going into Sunday morning. And so it had been a few days of that. I basically had all these things going on with my body, and they all came to a complete halt on Sunday morning. I had been having, cat hair on the lip gloss. I had been having nightmares and really bad insomnia, and Saturday morning I got up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and I couldn't sleep, and that was the last time I had insomnia. After that I slept like a baby and barely had any bad dreams. I had really bad night sweats. It's basically my head, like from my neck up. I would just be drenched in sweat, and that completely stopped. I had been feeling weird jitters, like almost like a low blood sugar type of jitter, but it wasn't necessarily at a time when I would have had low blood sugar. Say I laid down for like 20 minutes to take a nap, or it was usually when I woke up from a nap, or like midday I would start to feel like a little bit jittery in my hands. That went away. I was having very minimal cramping, almost nothing. But then I was also kind of noticing that I could just feel like my period was coming on. And I think Tuesday or Wednesday night, I noticed when I wiped, I went to pee before bed, and I noticed when I wiped there was this little blood spot, and it was kind of weird. It was like a jelly consistency, and it was like a little bit of like a brownish reddish color. It was really gross looking. It sounds just as gross as it was just as gross as it sounds, I should say. And it was just like this perfect little circle of just like a blood spot. And I was like, oh, well, there we go. That's on its way. But that didn't come back. I didn't get any other spotting. And normally before my period, I don't get anything like that. It's more like a light pink, like really watery, very, very, very faint discoloration. And it's not like a little spot of it. It's usually, just the whole section of where I wiped. So I was kind of expecting that would start soon. But there were things that probably should have tipped me off a little bit if I had been paying really close attention to them. Just for example, the feeling in my stomach was higher. It was like in my upper abdomen under my rib cage, and it felt like a long pulling feeling like this. And that was new. It was very rare, and it would happen just once or twice throughout the week, and only for a second, but it's something I've never felt before. But I didn't think anything of it. And I have not wanted to eat anything. The thought of food just isn't appealing. Even if it's my favorite thing in the world, I'll just be like, and not really want it. I have been making sure that I'm eating and drinking, because I remember the acupuncturist I saw for my first IVF said, please make sure you're always maintaining some kind of diet, whether you feel like it or not. Like, make sure that when you wake up in the morning, you eat right away, because embryos are very fragile without nutrition. So I remembered he said that. I do have to wait 25 to 30 minutes in the morning after I've taken my Synthroid to eat, but I had made sure to drink water during that period of time. And actually, water is one of the only things that's even a little bit appealing to me. Any old kind of beverage, just, I don't know, you could be like, hey, do you want, and fill in the blank here with something that I would normally really love and be excited about, and I would just not want it. With the exception of milk, I started drinking whole milk for this cycle. I've been buying organic whole milk, and it tastes like, it's like melted ice cream. It just tastes so good. So I was drinking that. I would have like a little tiny glass of it every now and then if I hadn't eaten in a while, just to make sure that I had something in my system. But usually I'm just a complete pig. Like if there's something that I want, even though it's something I shouldn't eat or that I would feel guilty eating, I would at least like have a craving for it. And at no point did I ever want anything to eat except for two things. There are two things that in the last week I would have hurt somebody for at any given moment, and that was refried pinto beans and jelly beans. Two not super healthy things, but I could just sit and eat a bowl of warm pinto beans, like refried pinto beans by themselves for dinner, and I did do that a couple of times. And like I'd wake up in the morning and I'd think, you know, would that be weird if I had that for breakfast? And I'd wait until lunch and eat it then, but that's not a normal thing in my life. And then jelly beans, I know Easter was just here, but I don't even think that that really has anything to do with it. And I haven't had many because the sugar content is awful, and that's something that I just really, really shouldn't have. But I have had a few jelly beans a couple of times. My sister had like a dozen left from the Easter baskets that were at her house, and I basically ate like all of those one day when I was over there. So today that's continuing, you know, stuff like that. Some of those things, I'm really not hungry, or it's not that I'm not, well, I'm not hungry, and I also don't really crave anything, but I'm trying to make sure that I'm at least staying hydrated and drinking. The pulling feeling is still happening. In fact, it's kind of happening a little bit on the left side right now. And one other weird thing that had been happening, and this started like 3 days ago, my makeup all looks wrong on my face. I have so much makeup here, you guys, and this makeup table is so messy. And I have tons of different kinds of foundation. Every foundation I put on my skin looked off. It looked too dark and it looked too heavy. And so I grabbed this, which I don't know why I even still have this. I hated it. It's one of the most expensive foundations I've ever purchased. It's this Cover FX Natural Finish Foundation, which always looked like garbage on me. And I was like, I feel like everything's too dark. And this was one of the lightest things I had. And this went on like a dream. It has never, ever worked on my skin before. Now, that could be a total fluke. And now, here's the thing. With all of these things, I could make an excuse for them and be like, that doesn't mean I'm pregnant. It just means this, you know? So I could be like, well, this has had time to oxidize. It's been open and sitting here for probably a year and a half. I don't know. It's been a really long time since I actually purchased this. And I could make a ton of excuses for some of these things, but maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. But all of my bronzers, everything looks wrong. When I put my makeup on, even with my old standby colors and techniques, I just look at it in the mirror and be like, my face just looks like, what happened to my face? And I can't put my finger on it. It's almost like I feel like I look really, really pale and withdrawn, and all of the colors that I put on my skin look too, I don't know. I won't go into that too much because it seems silly, but even today, when I started putting my makeup on, I was like, something's not right. Something is off with your face. The only other thing, I mentioned this in my chit chat video the other day, but I edited it out because I was like, it sounds so silly. It sounds impossible because it's so early. And I'm not even 100% sure if I'm actually noticing this or if it's just in my mind. But I feel like right now, I feel like, yes, it was real. And here's where I say, because normally I'm incredibly open and I will tell you things at any point and just be like, look, that's how it is. That's how all of this is. But I do know that I have some friends and family that watch this. And if you don't really want to hear about my nipples right now, you might not want to watch this part. But on that Saturday morning when I woke up really early, I walked into the bathroom, and I don't sleep with any clothes on. I mean, sometimes I do, but I usually take them off in the middle of the night. It makes for an awkward situation if I'm ever going to like share a hotel room with somebody or stay at somebody's house. Usually I warn them. I'm just like, hey, I just take my clothes off in my sleep. I'm sorry. So I got up, it was like 3 or 3:30 in the morning, and I went into the bathroom, and I was gonna just try and pee and like have a sip of water and then try and go back to sleep, but I was wide awake. And the first thing that I noticed when I walked into the bathroom is that my my areola was darker. Now I should preface this by saying that my areola is almost non-existent. It just fades off. I've got those big giant like shaped like I have very strange areola. And they just kind of fade off into the background of my regular skin color. And it's strange, but that's just how they are. But they looked more, and they're usually kind of like a peachy pink color, very, very light, close to flesh color, but they looked more brown to me. And so Mike happened to be awake at that time too. He couldn't sleep. So I asked him if they looked darker to him, and he kind of looked at me like, why would that even be something you'd ask me about? He looked really confused, and he's like, I don't know, you see them more than I do. Do you think they look darker? And I was like, yes. And then he somehow was able to go back to sleep without any further explanation. I still don't think he even realizes why I was asking that, but to this day, every time I look at them, they still look different to me. They look darker than they've ever looked before. Not drastically, but the color of them looks off. And the tops of my breasts feel fuller. Normally, the tops of my breasts are very kind of like close to my body and flatter, and there's more fullness in the sides on the outer edges. But like if I were to put my hand on my chest like this, it just feels like there's more going on right there. So those are things that I probably should have noticed, and I did, obviously, I noticed them, but I completely and 100% just pushed them aside because I didn't believe it. And Mike even said to me at one point, he was like, but how do you know? And I said, we just know these things. After a while, your body just does or doesn't respond a certain way, and you can just tell. And I feel like I do kind of believe that for the most part, but I don't know. Things are different now. We're watching a TV show. I don't want to spoil anything. It's from a few seasons ago, but I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody in case you haven't seen it yet. But there's a character who ends up becoming pregnant, and she doesn't realize that she is. And so Mike immediately was like, see, she didn't even know, even though it's a TV show, but I thought it was cute that he said that. He, by the way, is just a complete ball of nerves. I wanted to kind of interview him and just for the memory, just between the two of us, to talk to him and see how he was feeling. Well, last night he had a couple of drinks after he got home from work, and he was like, I think I had too much to drink to talk about this, and I think he's just nervous. He's scared, and I understand. I am too. I was telling somebody yesterday that it kind of feels like I'm scared it's going to fall off. Like there's something that I could possibly do right now to just make this all not happen anymore. So I kind of feel like I'm balancing a big book on my head. You know what I mean? I'm not, of course, being super delicate or acting weird because of it, but it does. It just kind of feels like I'm balancing a big book on my head, and at any moment it could just fall down and everything can be over. And I'm not letting it stress me out. It's just this incredible feeling. I've never experienced anything like this before. It's just this simultaneous joy and terror. And I was talking to my friend Mandy, and she said that, and she made an excellent point. She has a daughter, she's pregnant now, and she said, this is where it begins, and it just doesn't end from here. You will always worry from this point forward. And what a beautiful burden. I just love that. So my cousin, I talked to her today, and she said that she had a dream last night that I had twins, and one was a boy and one was a girl. And I had a dream about that, I think just before our egg retrieval, that Mike and I had, like very suddenly in the dream, it was like we were just suddenly holding them, and we were in a hotel room, and we were trying to figure out how to bathe them. And we didn't have any stuff. We didn't have we didn't have anything for them. We didn't have anything at all. They had basically no clothes on and no blankets, nothing, no supplies of any kind. So we were like both kind of holding them under the water in the shower, trying to rinse them. And then later in the dream, we were in a grocery store, and I had just laid blankets in the bottom of the shopping cart and laid the babies in there because there was nothing to put them in. And again, they were just, I think they had diapers on, but that was it. And I don't know what I thought I was going to do with groceries, but I remember in the dream just wandering around the store by myself, just staring at them and just being so in love. And one was a boy and one was a girl. So I thought that was really neat. My beta which I know some of you are curious about, was only 39.5. So in my mind, I realize that does not mean anything, but in my mind, I'm working with 1 right now, and that's totally fine with me, but I don't know how things are going to go tomorrow. I'm hoping for a number over 100, obviously, to make this a little bit more solid, but I'll take anything I can get right now because I've heard stories either way from so many people in the past and just from being in this community. So 39.5 was my number, and I'm just going to hope tomorrow that is a better number. So I did have this box of digital tests that I got on clearance. I don't know if you can see that at Christmas Tree Shops probably over a year ago. Yeah, it was, because the expiration date is October of 2013. And I remember when I got them, that there was only like 3 or 4 months left before they would be expired. So Lisa asked me if I was going to get a digital test so that I could see it and see the digital test come up right, because the Wanfos were not getting darker. I had no line on those. And a little trick, in case you haven't already figured this out, a way to know right away without wondering if you need to squint more if you're looking at it wrong. If you use the flashlight app or the flashlight feature on your cell phone and just shine it onto the test, you'll see right away that there's no other line there. So I broke these open yesterday. The first one that I took, I put a picture on my Instagram. That one has since run out the little thing on it. But this is the one that I took today because I just couldn't help myself. I don't want to cry again. And yesterday I took a Wanfo. It was negative, but today I just took this one just before I started filming this video. And here's a line. So that's everything that I have to say for today. I might make a video on, I've been trying to keep a list of everything that was different for this cycle for us that could have been, you know, a factor in making this possible. And once I feel like I have a good amount of that collected, I will probably record that. And of course, I will update you tomorrow on my number from my blood test. I haven't really been thinking about it today, so I'm feeling all nervous. But I'm just going to go sit and relax and just enjoy today for being today and worry about tomorrow when it's tomorrow. So thank you guys. Here we go. Now I'm really going to try not to cry. The incredible amount of love and support I've had from all of you. I don't know how people in just their everyday lives who just have a regular, no complications, conception and pregnancy can live without the kind of just ecstatic enthusiasm that I got from you guys yesterday. I just thought, this is, it takes my breath away. It is overwhelming. The number, just the volume of things that have been coming at me from all different directions. And some of you are in other countries and just completely different circumstances. And some of you didn't even have problems conceiving and you just found me through other means. I just love you guys. And being able to share that joy with you yesterday, you know, regardless of the fact that I was sobbing and could barely stop grabbing my face like a freak, wow. That's unlike any other kind of support I've had up until this point, and I want to give every single one of you a hug. I just really would love that so much. So thank you. And if you do have any questions for me, if there's anything that I haven't covered, just ask me. I'm kind of right now, my brain is just completely, I can't file anything right now. I feel like it's not working properly because I feel like it's just been given information that stalled all of the programs in it. So, so until tomorrow, you guys, thank you so much. I love you, and I'll talk to you soon.